Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to the round 9 of the 2024 Chess Olympiad. My name is Illia Nyzhnyk, well, as most of you guys already know, and I'll be your commentator for today. It's going to be my last day commentating for you over the weekend. A good friend of mine, French Master Eric Rosen, together with FIDE Master Gauri, will be entertaining you for the last 2 rounds. But before players get seated, we do still have a couple of minutes to go over the current standings. Here we have standings for the open section, and India. Look at that, absolute domination, having scored 16 out of 16 possible points, leading the event. But in close second are the two teams, Uzbekistan and Hungary. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to witness what is most likely a match for the title between India and Uzbekistan. Let's see if Uzbeki team can finally stop Indians' rampage, as so far I would say that India has shown absolutely fantastic chess, phenomenal performance by most of the Indian players, especially Grandmasters Gukesh and Irigaisi. On that note, what happened to the boards? Please come back. Okay, I don't know what's going on. My mouse just disappeared. My mouse cursor just poofed out of existence. So I don't see a mouse. Is this how I'm going to be sent off during my last stream? Just having absolutely random issues, not related to any of the issues I had previously. This is quite funny. That never happened before. But, you know, I would say that I have an experience operating the machinery without seeing the cursor. So, let's hope that blindfold commentary. Yeah, I mean, I'm not kidding, guys. Usually you do see my cursor right on the boards, I believe, but right now, let's say if we go to here and then it's not anywhere to be seen. But you know, fortunately, I don't really have to click much. Well, the only things I need to click are the games themselves, and maybe when I want to switch between the open and the women's section. Other than that, it should be okay. But yeah, this is the first time it happened. I seems to be having issue after issue. It's completely unprecedented stuff. Hmm. Okay, no matter. Be good. You know, all the keyboard shortcuts. Yeah, for the most part, yeah. I have everything open, you know. All the chats are open in separate tabs, you know. So I'm good. Oh yeah, just point at the square. Yeah, that's gonna be a doozy. Yeah, I'll have to be drawing arrows. That's interesting. Anyway, been trying to look for the fix, trying a couple of keyboard shortcuts to bring it back to life, but to no avail. my mouse has completely given up on me. Maybe restarting it would do something. No, no. Okay. Yeah. At least so far the stream has been running quite well. Knock on wood. You know, I feel like the mouse cursor disappearing is not going to be as big of an issue as the stream going offline every other minute. So let's hope that's the only issue I have today. Okay, so now I see where my mouse is. It's on C5. Okay. Now it's on D5, F5, E5. All right. Anyway, let's take a look at the wonderful players of the board one. Indian Grandmasters getting seated at their boards. Gukash is once again wearing a different attire. I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but I think for basically every round, Gukash has been wearing a attire of a different color than his team. So if his team wears gray, he would wear black. If his team wears black, he would wear gray. Quite interesting. Does it need new batteries? No. No. It's fully charged. I can see the current charge level of my Logitech peripherals in the software called Logitech G Hub. And I see my mouse is currently at 96% charge. So it just kind of like, honestly, I don't think this ever happened to me, that it would just disappear and not show. All right. Maybe I can just... Oh, okay. Well, I fixed it. It only took me, what, 2 minutes trying to click my way through the mouse settings in my Windows. But apparently, something bugged out. And I had a setting that would hide my mouse while typing. The box in mouse settings was checked in, right? So something bugged out. I was typing something and it just disappeared, never came back. So through trial and error, I managed to find a way to unclick that box, and now we are back. Wonderful. Lucini Danielle, thinking that maybe if you change the order of the pieces when players are not at the boards, they may get confused and games will all turn into chaos because, you know, pieces are all mixed up. the normal opening preparations no longer work. That definitely is a valid fear, you know. But yeah, as our beautiful moderator, Mr. Paul Fosseringham, pointed out, that players do have a chance of spotting these errors. So let's hope that that never happens. I did have a game once when my opponent, no, it was just my opponent ended up, and somehow I didn't notice. My opponent ended up playing with his king and his queen mixed up for the first couple of moves. Can we change the cursor to not like this while we're at it? I would, if I could modify my cursor quickly, I would do it. Totally would do it. Okay, so looks like the games are about to begin. We see the first move being played on board number 4. Okay, what happened to the board? Well, it actually just the Lichess broadcast just randomly decided to refresh. Okay, what's happening? Board number 1, Gukesh versus Nadirbek Abdusatorov. We are seeing Sicilian defense. Wawa wiwa. Buckle up. Strap on. What kind of wonderful Sicilian defense line will Nadirbek make us happy with today? Okay, it's just neither. And Gukesh goes for either a different move order, right? Because playing knight c3 still allows white to go for d4 most of the time. Unless obviously black plays e5, which is not recommended, as you know, white just has a lot of pieces developed at this point, and black also loses control over the d5. So yeah, as we can see, it was just simply a move order thing, where Gukesh does end up playing d4. I guess we're gonna see a capture, and we're gonna probably see capture with the knight, unless Gukesh is feeling a little bit frisky. Maybe taking with the queen could be possible. We have seen Grandmaster Richard report taking on d4 with a queen in one of his previous games. But no surprises this time. Knight takes d4, and after a6, which is going to have a standard neither case. Right? I would expect Gukesh to have some shady line prepared. So after a6, there is a million, or more like a billion ways to play a sideline here for white. You name it. Bishop e2, bishop e2 is actually one of the main moves. But bishop e2, bishop d3, bishop c4, or a4 are all available. h3, g3, rook g1 are available. Bishop e3 being the main line. Queen f3, right? So literally almost any move that doesn't hang a piece here for white has been tried in this position, including a4. As you guys can probably tell, a4 is mostly played to discourage black from playing b5. If black ever gets b5 in these positions, it gives black a fairly strong idea of playing b4 and kind of kicking the knight out. It looks like Nadirbek is not phased. Goes for e5. Knight f3 was played very, very quickly, which is another unusual knight retreat, but does make sense, right? So in this case, as soon as black plays e5, the play will be, white's play will mostly be against the d5 square. If black played e6, obviously that wouldn't be the case, as the pawn would be right there holding the d5. But now d5 is one of the white's main targets. If the knight goes back to b3, then after bishop e6, white, first of all, white just physically can't get the bishop over to c4 to help them control the d5. But also, even if the bishop does get to c4, let's say black begins with bishop e7 and bishop gets to c4, after queen c7 it has nowhere to retreat, though here white can still, free up some space for it by playing knight d2. And playing knight f3 just kind of claims that, oh, I'm trying to play bishop c4, and I'm also making sure that the bishop can run back if it gets hit. Oh, whoa. Whoa, whoa, wait. Another side, a sideline inside the sideline. Okay, this, I feel like I'm in a matrix right now. Too many black cats passing by. Is everyone excited about original Matrix being brought back to movie theaters? I've heard it's happening. I'm very excited. I would definitely go. Hmm. What's this? What's this? What's that? I don't understand. I mean, well, I kind of do. I'm not that stupid, right? And I'm pretty sure everybody does in the chat. Chat is comprised solely of grandmasters and international masters, so everyone is at least the same strengths, if not better than I. And we all can see that bishop g2 is probably the plan, although I can't be so sure based off of what Gukesh has done so far. It just feels like he's going for many different ideas, very randomly. Looking at this line, however, I see that a whole bunch of grandmasters tried it, including Grandmaster Daniil Dubov, who is very known for his interesting opening ideas. Unfortunately, in this game, he played this game back in 2022 as white. He ended up losing to actually a good friend of mine, Grandmaster Vasiv Dorerbaili, where Vasiv played h6 in this position, stopping the potential attack of bishop g5. They're bringing the one and only Matrix movie. Oh, is it the one and only for you? Or, I mean, this got to be some kind of pun, right? Yeah, we could argue that there was no need for any more than the first one, but you know. Okay, well, what's going on in the chat, guys? Why are we fighting? What's the discussion? Sorry, I missed it. People are claiming that US has to win every single match. Well, yes. The US is currently what 3 points behind India, so India would have to score like really poorly, or would have to like, lose every single match from now on. And yes, if US does end up winning every single match, then well, okay, let's take it slow and just say that if US wins every single match from this point on, it's probably a guaranteed top 3. Okay, like let's not shoot too high, and let's not get out of line here because it's close to impossible for India to lose every single match, right? Based upon what kind of performance we've seen so far. I mean, definitely the players can get tired and most likely are tired, but so is everyone else. Gukesh is unstoppable. Yeah, Gukesh and Erigaisi both of them. I'm Cat. I'm pretty sure that um I'm pretty sure that's 16 is actually the correct number. You might not be aware, but in this Olympiad, a team gets 2 points per match victory. So India actually currently has 16 points as they won 8 matches times 2, giving them 16 points, and US does have 13 points, which means that the US is indeed, as you pointed out, down a match and a half. So in a made up world that's too good to be true, if US does win every single match from now on, and India loses every single match from now on, US will indeed overcome India on the standings. Yeah, it puts them a match and a half ahead. That's right. Yeah. So once again, I haven't really been following the conversation, but yes, the correct statement would be is that India is a match and a half ahead of US, or 3 points ahead. That's also a correct statement, MCAT. US will still overcome India if India loses one and draws two. That's right. Wesley's played the Vinava French against Leko. Gonna be exciting. Okay, let's take a look. Let me see. Wesley. Whoa. Okay, so it's just the beginning of the Vinava French, right? Nothing too exciting has happened yet, but Leko definitely didn't see this one coming. Wow. And once again, the Vinava French is the kind of opening line that I wouldn't expect to see, you know, the top players play, because it just feels shaky. I would feel a little bit scared that you know, certain positions can potentially become way too passive for black, and it's going to be way too one-sided. So also one of this is one of the opening lines where playing as black, you need to know precisely what's going on, and potentially for, you know, pretty long periods of time. So you need to be very well prepared, very well informed about the plans and ideas. Otherwise, one inaccurate move and you you might find yourself in a big trouble. Speaking of interesting opening ideas, here we have Grandmaster Fabiano Caruana facing off against Grandmaster Richard Rapport. This match is promised to be very exciting, knowing both players. And the move a4 is being tried by Fabi. Hasn't he already tried this before? Yeah, he has. I remember that. Yeah, this is his game against Magnus back from 2023. I remember that he tried this before and that it worked out very well for him. So here Magnus played Queen e7. But besides his game, there's been multiple attempts. Jones Gavain attempted this as white against no other than Lim Lekwang back in 2019, and Lim played knight h6, which is a very unusual way of developing your knight. I guess the idea is that maybe after castling, black might be even considering something like f5. It's unlikely, but you know, usually black tries to turtle up in these positions, so like try to defend the pawns, having, you know, very solid pawn structure. But every now and then a new idea pops up, and knight h6 might just be it. Anish Giri tried Queen e7 just like Magnus back in 2022 against Ronak Sadhvani, and it looks like Queen e7 is the most common response. Oh my god, Prague tried g5 here in 2022 against Andrei Yosipenko and actually won the game as black. Whoa. I have strong doubts that g5 is actually a good move here. It just feels very, very aggressive, not something black usually does. But you know, if we imagine that this game was a blitz or rapid game, I feel like it's a good try. Where can you bet on a gentlemanly draw between Leko and Vasily? I'm not sure if that's gonna happen. Something is telling me that you're not gonna get to see any gentlemanly draws anymore. Yeah, the head-to-head match between the US and India will be very important and might potentially decide the winner of the whole thing. But yeah, that's given that India gets through Uzbekistan today. Oh yeah, are we gonna see Vasily take one single risk this game, in your opinion? Honestly, he already did. I feel like the Vanilla French is a risk, you know? It's an opening with close to zero forgiveness when it comes to messing it up. It is a risk. He's willingly putting himself under pressure in terms of, because he could have just killed the game, right? He could have played Berlin, he could have played e4, e5, and literally any. I could have played French, Carol, and would have gotten a very solid position. But here, right, he's taunting Leko. He's inviting Leko to attack him, right? Because whenever French sees White usually going for Queen G4 stuff, there's B4, which is the main line here. There's Bishop D2, Queen G4 is a possibility. So Vasily is deliberately trying to force his opponent to you know, to go at him. Definitely not backing off from a fight, which I personally don't mind. I think that's a good strategy, you know. Vasily is stronger rating wise and play wise, I would say. So it's a good thing that he's taking the fight to his opponent, which in all by itself a risk. Nice to see Ding is back. Yeah, okay, so hopefully this is not Ding's final game of the event. What do we see here? A transposition into Neo-Catalan. Okay. So far, no surprises here besides the a6, which is a quite rare move. But you see Black including a6 in a lot of different positions. Slav, Queen's Gambit declined are among the most obvious ones. Maybe hoping that Ding is going to play d4 and transpose into Catalan, where a6 is also quite useful as Black takes on c4 and plays b5 at some point. So a6 is perfectly fine, but Ding plays b3, which is the main response here. I guess most people don't really want to see this happen, so why bother? Let's just defend the pawn and move on. Also gets to put the bishop on b2. Pretty nice. You can find some betting side to bet on US giving 40x payback. That sounds like pretty good odds to me. In the YouTube chat, Vidura is getting very excited, cheering for India. Yeah, something is telling me that India will be fine. They got this. Alright, I keep checking my OBS, shaking in my boots. Try to not see the disconnect, the dread disconnect. So far so good. Anyway, let's take a look at match number 4 between Magnus Carlsen and Vladimir Fedosiev. And here we see something unusual. Have you guys ever seen, wait, no, this is not Tarrasch, right? This is something else, because in Tarrasch we would see the knight on c3 and the pawn on e6 in this position, but that's not what we're looking at here. And that's weird. I mean, white is up a tempo, with most people just taking on d4. Black response was capture on d5, and then knight c3, queen takes d4, knight takes d4, and then a6. Actually, Hikaru Nakamura himself was the one having played this recently against Prague this year, back in April. I assume this must have been either a rapid or a blitz game. Prague played g3 and Hikaru won, actually, which makes me believe that I think Black is doing perfectly fine here. So let's see what Magnus has in store against this line. Seeing how he is currently spending some time, he might not have much, But, you know, he's still Magnus, so let's hope that he makes us happy with some action. Armenia, Germany. This is one of the sidelines that I myself used as white against Kara players. It's unusual to see knight retreating back to b1. There's a good reason for this. If you go to d1, it's going to be stuck until the f-pawn moves, but if you go to b1, it's relatively simple for white to solve the knight development problem by just playing d3, knight d2. And that's exactly what we see here. But once again, there's no need to really be in a hurry. If you're white, position is closed. White does have a bishop pair available. As of right now, though, it's not going to be very useful. White will need to do some work in order to make some pawns go away. And, you know, and quite the opposite for black, trying to keep the pawns on the board, making sure the bishops don't get to do stuff. You dare say Vei's loss to India made a huge difference for the Olympiad totals? Well, yeah, because, you know, India ended up winning the match, and that put everyone else a fair bit behind. So now actually India has a cushion because India's tie breaks are also the best on the entire Olympiad. India's India's tiebreak is absolutely crazy. It's at 262 points, and then other teams, the closest team's tiebreak, and that's China, is at 206.5 points. So that's like 56.5 points ahead, which makes me believe that even if there's going to be a tie between India and other teams, India will still win first place because of their ultra performance, right? So the better you perform, the more individual points you get. You know, the more matches you win in a row, the better your tie breaks, and nobody can beat India in this regard anymore. All right, moving further down, we have Vietnam versus England, where Grandmaster... Oh, why does it keep doing that? Why does my Lichess broadcast webpage just randomly refresh? Don't do it. Please no. Okay, so we are looking at Queen's Gambit declined, and eventually Lem does decide to take on c4. I have seen this before, so I believe that a game that I'm remembering was Erwin Lamy playing as black against somebody in one of the first couple of rounds, and Erwin Lamy was kind of in a must-win situation because he was much higher rated than his opponent, and he even in that game he actually did not take on c4, which is the most common move here. Black just kind of getting a bishop pair and getting into a position like this. For example, here we see a lot of games being played, though white has really good results here. I mean, it makes sense. I'm not a big fan of having to play c6 holding a bishop pair. I would say that bishop d7 would make a lot more sense to me. And yet, yeah, white still has fantastic results. And after bishop d6, bishop g5, I guess the center is starting to get problematic for black to hold, as white just simply goes e4 next move, and you know, e5 is going to be on the horizon. Well, Lem seems to know what he's doing. He goes for the bishop trade immediately, takes back with a c-pawn, and gets into this extremely solid position, which we also ended up seeing in Erwin Lamy's game, which he managed to win eventually. But when you see two, you know, essentially 2,700 players facing off, chances are this is not gonna really go anywhere, but you never know. as the tournament, gets to its inevitable conclusion, we may see people taking way more risks, both good and bad ones. You kind of have to gamble a little bit when it comes to winning points, because if teams are trying for the medals, they need to, like, especially teams that are not in the current top 6, I would say, they would need to make sure to win every match from now on, and they need to gamble it up, even in safe positions like these. So we'll see how it goes. Looking good for Lim. Board 2 sees also some Queen's Gambit decline stuff. Yeah, so Queen's Gambit declined with Bishop to f4 and then Knight h5, forcing the Bishop back. Interestingly, White played Bishop e5 followed by Bishop g3. Interesting. It feels like it helps Black, though the Knight on c6 does look out of place, right? So in these Queen's Gambit structures, usually the pawn is the one going to c6, trying to provide some protection for the d5, but now this looks more like a Rogozin, where Black Bishop was a bit too shy and ended up not going to b4, as it usually would. So let's see. Black played Bishop e6. Very, very solid. Purely defensive bishop, so I guess we're probably going to end up seeing e3 here. This is a completely novel position. No games have been played in this one. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. It feels interesting. It feels unusual. Feels fresh. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how this develops. Luke McShane versus Tuan Min Le. I think this is Ruy Lopez. Yeah, this is just a Ruy Lopez. Or Black went for this line knight d4, traded off the knights. And yeah, as Ruy Lopez usually goes, although here Black took on d4 very, very quickly, without really putting much thought into it. I mean, the normal response would be just knight f6, was fairly simple development, but look at this, e takes d4, releasing pressure in the center, and followed by knight e7. Very interesting. I mean, I wouldn't say that I have never seen Black take himself. I definitely have. It's just not the common practice for Ruy Lopez players to take this, to trade this pawn this early, without having castled, without having, their other pieces situated. So supposedly the plan is to wait. Then that's white. White is the one playing d5 here. Why not just something normal like knight c4? Black doesn't even care about the bishop. Okay, this is I wouldn't play like this. If I was in Black's shoes, and it's quite obvious right now that Paris Black Pieces knows what he's doing, but coming from someone with little to no experience playing Ruy Lopez from Black's perspective, I would never do this ever. Supposedly a takes b6 is better. Where the last game was played back in 2010 between Gadir Guseynov and Vitaly Golod, which ended in a draw. Like so. Okay, makes sense. Interesting. Once again, never seen this before, so looking forward to seeing how it plays out. My laptop is haunted. It's new. It's a new laptop. Why would it be haunted? Haven't really used it for anything. I don't have any, like, I don't have anything on it. The only thing I have on this laptop is the streaming software, Steam, and Chessbase. Literally nothing else. There's nothing else to haunt it. I even made sure to remove all kinds of like supplementary softwares that came with it, like the like antiviruses, like whatever they put into fresh systems. That stuff is not needed, so it's a clean Windows OS, nothing on it. It shouldn't be having a poor performance like this. Very upsetting. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, further down we have Georgia facing off against Ukraine, and this does feel like one of the main lines of Ruy Lopez. Oh yeah, I've seen this a million times probably. Yeah, and then There's a5, there's a takes b5, queen d3 has been tried, but not as frequently. And yeah, after bishop d7, looks like almost everyone takes on b5. I suppose black will probably just take back, claiming that, oh, well, you can't take this pawn because there's knight d4, a massive triple attack by the knight, a discovery attack on the queen by the bishop. This is looking lost instantly. Instantly lost. You know, we're not gonna see this happen, obviously. Probably something like knight to a3 will come through, attempting to win the pawn on b5, but black is unfazed, going for some pawn sacrifices, and looks like it's not going to be too long before black manages to recover the missing pawn, just like in this game between Pichot and Jones back in 2017, where white actually still managed to win, holding a bishop pair in an open position. Actually, really like this for white. So something is telling me that black will kind of go astray from this line somewhere along the way, because that final position wasn't looking all too hot for black. Board 3 of the same match, also a very common position in Slav, where black goes for an early bishop development, and yeah, white is immediately trying to deliver the punishment by trading the bishop away. The advantage of this is that the h-file is open now, so oftentimes black doesn't even need to castle anymore unless white shows some aggression in the center, which it's going to be a while until white is able to do so, as playing e4 is very tough when your knight is pinned, when you don't have enough defenders for the e4. So usually white goes for, you know, a bit of a slower play here with queen b3, something like bishop d2, sometimes even long castle. We'll see how white decides to play this out, but there are some options. Board 34, we are looking at a Botvinnik that didn't turn into Botvinnik, right? So Botvinnik variation. It's called anti-Moscow gambit. So here after h6, the common route is to take on f6. I think that's what most actually you see Magnus trying bishop h4 and winning both of his games against Ding Loren back in 2020. So it's been a while, but Magnus had some success against Ding in this one with bishop h4. Although back in 2015 he took on f6 and ended up losing to Vasilin Topalov. Okay, so maybe he made some modifications to his analysis and decided that taking on f6. Usually what ends up happening is that a position like this happens. I think e4 or just e3. And yeah, once again, because black has issues with this light squared bishop, having knights is not necessarily a bad thing for white. But black's position is quite safe, quite solid. So, you know, just like most Slavs are. So we're going to see some action as white goes for a pawn sacrifice. Black obviously is too invested at this point, right? Having taken on c4, it's an investment, right? You're giving up the central control, but you're trying to stick to, you know, to stick to the extra pawn, not giving it back ever. There have been some games where white tried d5 now. Actually, quite a few, I would say. There's e5, d5. Alexei Serrano tried queen c2, which was eventually played in this game as well. But you see Loic Van Velde trying d5 against Hikaru and losing back in 2007, so that's been, what, 17 years? And Ernesto Kiev decided to castle against Alexei Drev and also lost back in 2007. But 92, yeah, 92 is an unusual, at least an unusual move order, and as we can see, Luis Ernesto Quesada Perez is kind of phased with this choice. And he ended up playing bishop b7, which is a normal developing move, right? It doesn't really change much. Just gets the bishop out, helps black eventually play c5. Obviously, before black can do that, they would have to make sure that the b5 is secured. So we will very likely see a6 being played, and black will be trying to breach the center with c5. After queen c2, queen b6, it's already we kind of can see that immediately. It's a first attempt to play c5, but also at the same time attacking the d4. This position transposed. It is now a line where white exclusively plays rook to d1, 60 games, all 60 went with rook to d1. All kinds of grandmasters tried this. Yuan Gui tried this against Wen Yang and won in 2017. And then there were a couple of other games, but nothing too recent. I see that there has been no recent games in this. The most recent game was played in 2020 between Boris Gusan and Jürgen Stefan. It ended in a draw back in September 2020. Will we see any surprises? Will we see something crazy like long castle or short castle? Pretty sure Serrano plays in Lichess. Yeah, I wouldn't be. I think most top grandmasters do. Draw by repetition on board 4. What? I mean, this is kind of like, this is very weird to me, right? So Jahangir Vahidov goes for exchange to love against Santosh Vidit, and yeah, this is a well-known line that. Okay, but this where is a draw by repetition in this line? I don't think I've ever seen a draw in this particular line. Yeah, this is still, yeah, everything is still a line. Maybe maybe Jahangir Vahidov was trying for an opening surprise against Vidit, and Vidit just knew everything. Okay, yeah, that's exactly what it seems like, because as we can see, players are just blitzing out the moves, and yeah, okay, so it looks like they just both knew the quote-unquote engine draw. Yeah. Well, there's always a risk whenever you play somebody strong. There's always a risk that even if you have successfully managed to surprise them, they still remember, they still know, they still believe. And pretty good result, honestly, for Team India, drawing their board 4 as black, leaving themselves having two games with white pieces. Very nice, quick draws as black, never hurt anyone. Can't say the same about Uzbeki team. Now, they're at a small disadvantage, I would say, but anything can still happen. It is what it is. Jahangir tried to surprise his opponent with some what I believe is a well-known opening line, as I have also analyzed it myself. But didn't pan out. It happens. We'll be following the rest of the games in a moment. Let me go ahead and look at the chat real quick. Pretty sure every Lichess account you lose to is a Smurf account from a Super GM. Linear game is kind of spicy. Please provide Super GM analysis at your earliest convenience. I'll be delighted to entertain you with my Super GM analysis. One Super GM analysis coming up. Boom. Oh my god. Okay, so, alright, so hear me out. Hear me out. I was very recently playing in the IM Norm round robin. I've explained it, don't ask me why. It was me trying to help out a friend of mine who was organizing the event. They needed an international title player. I was local, I was international, I was titled, I was a grandmaster. I brought the average of the tournament way up, making it possible for most people to go for IM norms. So I was playing in my round 2, and I played this exact line as white. This exact line. This very line as white. Where my opponent in this position played knight to h5. Myself, having analyzed this from black side, so hear me out, I don't play e4 as white, okay? Me playing e4 was just me trying to throw off my opponent. And I was like, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen? I've analyzed these positions from black's perspective. I know what can happen. My opponent played knight h5, and I remember myself analyzing and concluding that knight h5 is not really good enough of a line to equalize for black. So I was very happy when he played it, and needless to say, I've won my game very quickly. And then, a week later, I was telling about it to one of my other Grandmaster friends, and he told me, wait, but what if b4? And I was like, okay, b4 I've also looked at, and still, after this capture, I thought that black, at best, will be trying to play for a draw. Because the pawn structure is weird, the g file is open, so I really didn't like this, right? And he said, no, don't take on c3, play knight, no, don't take on f6, play knight e2, right? And then black is going to respond with knight e8, because now, if knight h5, this knight is going to get annoyed by knight g3, right? So now at this point, black has to play knight e8. So literally, I was looking at this, and apparently it's actually not that bad for black. So let's take a look. Now I'm actually very curious to see how Sanan Sigurov is going to navigate through this, as we can see from, well, you guys can't see, I can see, but you guys can't. As I can see from the Masters database, black's results are actually quite nice, but there hasn't been any games as of late. The only game between strong players as of late was played in 2022 between Jan Nepomniachtchi and Firouzja Alireza, and Nepomniachtchi actually won here as white. So let's see, f5, a4. So this is an improvement compared to Alireza's game. Alireza here played the move bishop c4, and a4, yeah, a4 has been a main move for actually quite some time now, but once again, this is a very old line. Now I see that Fabiano Caruana played this against Boris Gelfand and lost as white. Makes it even more interesting. So f takes e6, a takes b3, c takes, including the capture on f7, may not be as useful as it seems, although here people have mostly tried king b1 with fairly decent results. Vasily Topalov managed to beat Francisco Vallejo Pons, where Vallejo took on c2, and it looks like everyone is basically taking on c2. So let's see, takes on c2, queen takes c2, and it looks kind of ugly, but at least black is getting to win the pawn on g5. So I guess that works out in black's favor. And going back, Linia didn't take on f7. He took on b3 instead. And after f takes e6, king b1, rook takes a2. I guess pointing out that, oh, well, but I see tactics. If king takes, check, check, boom. Too many pawns gone. But somehow white still won. White played one game in this and won somehow. I think that was an accident, because white is not supposed to be winning here. In fact, white, I think, is just close to lost because of the sheer amount of pawns they lost just now. But Linear here goes ahead and plays bishop to h3, and now that sends Sanan Sigurov into a pretty deep thought so far. Over 10 minutes spent by Sanan here. Mixed results in this. Really, games from far from the land far away. The last game was played in year 20 BC, aka 2006. Not the last game. One of the games that black won was played in 2006, where Peter Hein Nielsen played the move queen to a5, which everybody else did as well. Queen a5 seems to be the only move here, well, at least judging by the Grandmaster games in this position. Indian team's carry stacked. Yep, clearly stacked. Look at Vidit. Look at how easy he made it look. Draw, boom, for 30 moves of engine analysis. I'm sure he wasn't even ready for this. He just knew. He just knew. Good luck getting that IM title. Yeah, I probably made like 3 IM norms in that tournament. So now I just need a rating of 2400. Couple more years, and I'll drop my rating high enough. No, I'll drop my rating low enough to finally become an AM. It's a speed run from 0 to GM and then from GM to 0. It's a how would you call it? Backwards speed run. Unfortunately, you cannot just shoot feed a mail asking, oh, I'm doing the speed run where I lose my titles. Can you please remove my GM title and change it to the IM title? Thank you. Unfortunately, you can't do that. Maybe you can, The evolution chain is Ali Reza, Gucci Reza, Mega Reza. That's cool. I like that. Gucci Reza, Mega Reza. So which stage is he on right now? Wonderful. Hello, Gamer124. What's up? Okay. So far, looks like everything on my end is working as intended, besides my mouse cursor disappearing in the beginning, but that's not bothering me anymore. I'm pretty sure everyone would be delighted to see Ding's game here, so let's take a look. Parham is calling Ding's bluff. He goes for d4, although by playing d4, Black is kind of citing a waiver that they understand that the move a6 is no longer going to be useful for them, but despite everything, they would like to keep playing for the center, right? So the move a6 in these Benoni structures that Black is definitely going for. Why Benoni, you may ask? Well, because to boom, hold my Benoni, right? Move a6, not necessary. So yeah, here you have a d4, agreeing to terms of conditions of Benoni gameplay, and realizing full well the potential dangers of having wasted a move by playing a6. Parham, still unfazed, goes ahead and plays d4. And yeah, see, let's go for c5, and we do see eventually something very Benoni-like happening. Though Ding is not in a hurry to take on d4. He might have his reasonings, but I'm pretty sure he wouldn't mind Parham taking on e3 himself. And he can take with a pawn, he can take with a bishop. All options are on the table except for rook e3. Rook e3, throw that into trash. We don't need the rook on e3, That's not needed, but anticipating the capture, putting the rook on a semi-open file makes perfect sense to me. This position has never been played, so we are now officially in anyone's land. So let's see how this goes. What's your opinion on Report? You are the same age. I mean, did you have a rivalry growing up? I mean, I don't think I rivaled with anyone. I was just kind of by myself. I didn't care about other people getting better than I or whatever. I saw him a lot. He was in every other tournament that I played in. At some point, he shut up, and he shot up, right? He went way higher than me, and I stopped seeing him in the open tournaments. He started playing in closed invitationals and stuff. But yeah, I did see a good portion of Richard back in my younger days. What's my opinion on him? He is one of the more exciting chess players out there. He always had, even back in those days, he always had some crazy sideline up his sleeve. He wouldn't be afraid to use it, even against 26 and 2700 grandmasters, which is the games would get up completely wild. People were not ready to play the badass chess that Richard was forcing them to play. He was winning cool games and stuff. I didn't care about other people. Illia Nyzhnyk, the ex-Lichess commentator. You took it out of context. It's not even the full sentence. You can make anything sound really bad. Linux, come on. That's not fair. Oh, hey Froya, good to see you. Twitch chat never quotes out of context. Yes, I mean Twitch chat are well-known goblins, so I'm not surprised. I thought you were better than that though. I had a higher opinion of you. It's official, you're cancelled. But it wasn't even. Okay, I guess. Yeah, I mean, guess what? I'm cancelled for the Olympiad commentary, starting from tomorrow. But that was the plan all along. I was supposed to be cancelled. Anyway. And now jokes aside, how about we look at some soupy giri? It sounds like anigiri, but soupy giri. In this case, it's the actual match. Although I should probably say giri soupy. All right. You guys done did it. You guys done screwed up AA runs. Let's see Indians women's section. Sure. Yeah, so India was finally stopped in the women's section by the Polish team. Poland inflicted the wound onto Indians women's team, but beating them in a match 2.5, 1.5. Well done, Poland. Finally, at least someone was able to put India to a stop, at least in one of the sections. So here we actually, oh, okay, so India is playing Team US. Very, very interesting match indeed. Begum going for English. Early Fenkero. Facing off against Bishop C5, so Bishop C5, Bishop came over to C5, say no more, we go E3, we kill it. Subjectively, we don't kill stuff on the stream. It's chess. It's a game term. So, you know, we need to make sure the bishop is as sad as it can get. So we built a nice little pawn chain against it. Black is going for the center, yeah, but playing E3, obviously the drawback of playing E3 is that we are no longer as eager to fight for the center as we usually would be as white. So no, eventually we see some interesting isolated pawn action here. A couple of games have been played, but mostly drawing. I guess the idea behind this is that d4 is coming in, and I'm not sure white can stop it. Like if black manages to trade this pawn away quickly, then there's nothing to worry about. Right? d4, white will take, black will capture back. We're gonna get to see some symmetry. Boring. GG draw, go next. And that's exactly what happened in this game between David Benedetto and Vicent Moholi Velert. Must be Italians. Anyway, this is literally me following that game, and it looks like, as I suspected, you know, now black can just go ahead and take on c3, taking this into a opposite color bishop, probably endgame, right? They didn't do it, I guess because they didn't have to, but this is just an easy peasy draw for black. So looks a little bit underwhelming for now, but let's see. Maybe these players will manage to come up with something exciting to keep the game going. Because if black plays d4, I think the game is just going to be over with a draw very quickly. Carissa Yip playing against Divya Desmuch goes for QGA, where she decided to play c5. Been a sideline, but I think there is a Queen's Gambit accepted book where c5 is a recommended response. So yes, here there's this one where bishop takes c4 happens, queen c7, queen b3, e6, and now white doesn't even have to take on d4, so white can just go ahead and castle, and if black takes here, actually nobody did. There's a couple of games where black refused to take and just began developing. Was knight c6, but if black takes, as you can tell, white is almost done with development, while black is super lagging behind This is just a super lost position. If something like this ever happens, you have an extra pawn, cool. Don't care, right? Even if you would have an extra piece, like if this knight on b1 would be gone, I would also honestly still believe that white has a good shot here because of how many pieces they got developed already. But yeah, we are getting something completely different as Divya did end up just taking on d4. And now, whoa, Carissa, having spent almost 25 minutes here for this move, which is the main line, bishop to e6, knight c3, and knight f6. So Carissa so far is following the main line, which these moves are making perfect sense, right? Developing the bishop, defending the c4, trying to hold on to the extra material. And this is where Divya is currently standing, thinking about her options. Knight e5 is the common move here, where after knight c6, knight takes c6, bc, and queen a4. It looks like white will be winning their material back, but I like this for black. Even though black is currently holding a weakness on c6, a weakness on a7, that juicy outpost square on d5, where the black knight will inevitably go, makes me just happy. It makes all the pain go away, and you're just smiling. You're getting to play knight d5. The d4 is still an isolated pawn. You know, if knight d5, if your opponent decides to ever take on d5, you get to fix your pawn structure problems, while white still is going to be maintaining the weak-ish pawn on d4. So this is looking decent for Carissa. Games in this position have seen mixed results, with white winning some, white losing some. But yeah, the games go as far back as 1996. I see 1982, Valery Chekhov versus Andrei Lukin. It ended in a draw after knight e5. So this is a very, very old line that has been tried many times ever since 1982. When Nier's opponent screwed up, he is now winning? What? No. Let's actually take a quick look at the remaining. What's happening to my nose? Why am I suddenly just getting congested? Too dusty in my apartment? Yeah, that makes sense. Irina Crush playing as white, transposing into Rogozin and playing one of the common Rogozin lines. Although b6 is not common at all, but looks like her opponent is more or less prepared, and we are looking at something unusual. Here, knight d2 is a novelty. White usually goes for bishop b2, bishop e2, bishop d3, trying to develop as quickly as possible. So this is still in a development stage. Nothing is happening. Moving on. Obviously, oh, well, something's happening here. Is this the Queen's Gambit decline? No, this was Botvinnik that got refused because obviously played knight bd7, which then transposed into Queen's Gambit decline position. This is one of the most standard Queen's Gambit decline lines where white decides to go for a long castle. Woohoo! Action! Immediately plays b5. No time to waste. Attack. If you don't attack, we get attacked, we get checkmated. King b1 was the common response. But Tanya Sajda played bishop g3, and after queen a5, king b1, bishop a6. Looks like black's attack is striving right now. Okay, going back to the open section here. Linear. Linear is winning? Wait, what? Where? Okay, so this is where we left off. Rook a5 was not suggested. Everyone and their sisters, brothers, and cousins have played queen a5 here. Makes a lot of sense, right? Defending the rook, getting ready to potentially check on a1. You know, tickle white's king a little bit. Rook a5 does not really do black any good, or it doesn't seem so. I wouldn't say Lanier is winning here. Trying to stay safe and checking the I'm gonna try to check Ancient's analysis using my phone, and just to be extra safe. Yeah, but looks like the Ancient just says that oh, I see pawn, I take pawn. The reason why this works so well is because after d5, there is this crazy interception move, bishop b6. Once again, this is not very easy to see, and if you do see it, it's not easy to understand how good this truly is. Now you have to calculate moves like queen b6 like this. This is not like, this is gonna take Linear some time. I'm sure he's capable of finding this, but it's gonna take him some time. And here, finally now the best move for black is to go back rook a8, and after bishop takes d8, bishop takes b4. I guess a bunch of options are on the table. White can just go ahead and take here, and then take on d7, leaving themselves up 2 pawns. But it is an opposite color bishop endgame, so draw is still a very possible result. So as we can see, rook a5 is a bit too shy. You know, when you're playing Sicilian, you know, you can't shy away from making active moves. You always need to accept this fact as a given that active moves are de facto the default the default state of mind, right? You need to be playing dynamically, and if you make backwards moves or moves that don't really attack anything, chances are that those are not the best moves, and you should try to look again. A wonderful Sicilian, I love it. Isn't 1 plus 1.7 winning? Not necessarily. It's a big advantage, but it always depends on the position. Some positions are way harder to win in a 1 plus 1 to plus 2 range than others in a plus 0.5 to plus 1 range. It all depends on practical playability of the position, and because this can potentially go into the opposite color bishop endgame, there are more drawing chances for the defending side, I think. Okay. What else we got? Take a look at match number 1. Match numero uno. Okay, so board 1. Arjun Erigaisi going for one of the Berlin lines. Interesting choice. I'm normally I would try to critique this choice, obviously, because knowing how although his opponent is not quite ready, as I can see that Vahidov Shamsidian is wasting a lot of time, maybe just trying to remember the lines, and they are still following. Excuse me, they're still following one of the main lines of this of the structure. Still the main line, and Arjun is this is the first time where he decided to give it a little bit of a thought. But yeah, this feels, once again, knowing how good Arjun Erigaisi has been at squeezing out the tiniest of advantages into wins, I'm not gonna say anything because it just feels like, in general, this position feels like it's never gonna be enough for white. It's a pawn symmetry. Yeah, black has some development problems, but position is super solid, super safe, and you know, once again, the advantage is so minimal, but I do accept the fact that there's something I don't understand, that there's some skills that I don't possess, and definitely Arjun is the kind of player who possesses the kind of skill required to win this as white. So far, it's been only draws in this position. No wins. But it's Erigaisi, guys. So we're in good hands. Let's see some magic. Let's lay back, get ourselves a good warm cup of tea or coffee or whatever makes you happy, and enjoy the show. hopefully we're in for a treat, or at least, you know, for a fight. Let's hope we're not gonna see one of those quick draws. Board 2, Prague. Prague has been using the French defense quite often, and here he is facing advanced variation. Standard, pretty typical. Knight goes to c6, queen goes to b6. Black is trying to play against the pawn on d4. There's some other ways to make it happen. Getting the knight over to f5, maybe through e7 sometimes. So white goes for a3. Now if black doesn't react, there's going to be b4. That's exactly what happens. I'm pretty sure Prague already had this against Fabiano Caruana, and I've looked at this game extensively. It was a draw. Where Prague played rook c8. That's exactly what he does here. And his opponent went bishop e3, whereas Caruana played bishop b2 in this case. So bishop e3, knight h6, still following the main lines. Bishop d3, knight g4. Knight b2 is a slightly more rare move. Some people tried it. So, for example, Grandelius Nils versus Bluebaum back in 2021 didn't result in much. The game was drawn. So knight d2 was played here, and this kind of puts Prague out of his opening preps. It seems, as he spent approximately 4 minutes for the bishop e7, which wasn't played at all. Most people just take on e3s. The IM level players, Sekar and Podolchenko, had a game where Podolchenko tried g6, quite interesting. Maybe trying to feint carry the bishop to g7, pretty cool. Kind of like claiming that, oh, I'm gonna take on e3 no matter what, so why don't I just feint carry, because you will not have a piece that's capable of exploiting my weak squares, right? So playing g6 makes perfect sense in that case, because you're removing the only piece that's able to punish you for creating weaknesses like that. So bishop e7 was played by Prague, which is very understandable developing move. We need to. Joe here seems to still be aware of all the possibilities, as bishop e7 is one of the more common moves your opponent can make, and even though it hasn't been tried before, potentially, it doesn't mean that you can't face it in your game. So I'm pretty sure that's something Joe here very likely checked in his analysis. So knight e3 comes through, f takes e3, and then Prague plays knight b8, b5. Although both of them are playing quite quickly. Here Prague went for the extra pawn, which is not unusual. This is not the first time I see white sacrificing pawns on the queen side in the advanced French. Basically, it's a claim that there's nothing black can do to use the advantage, because like moving this pawn to a6 is close to impossible. There's always going to be some problems on the ball, on the open files, on the. Okay, hold up, wait a minute. Deep breaths in, deep breaths out, Ilya. Trying to talk too fast. There is no need for that. I'm not good at speaking English, so I should try to slow down, right? If you're only learning, if you're not good at something, slow down. Don't go too fast, right? So in this case, the bishop will most likely go back, but it's very hard to play a6 because, first of all, the a6 pawn after the trade will become a target, and second of all, this trade opens up the b file for the other white rook, so, makes black's job even harder. But it seems that we see some very quick development here. As after rook fb1, I guess, in preparation against a6. Prague goes ahead and castles, makes perfect sense. There are no great gifts available, as the bishop is taking care of the g5, so this would be a very unfortunate mistake. And now, surprisingly, very surprisingly, as Javahir Sindarov moves his rook away from the king side, he starts the pawn rush on that sad king side. It's unusual to me because I want to keep my pieces here, right? I want to keep my rook here if I know that I'm going to go for the king side attack. So once again, it's unusual to see him move the rook over to b1 and then go for the attack on the king side. But yeah, as we can see, he gets his pawn to g5, playing very, very quickly. He has an hour and 30 minutes on his clock against Prague's hour and 10. Prague goes for doubling the rooks on the c file, but there is nowhere to go, right? There's nowhere to get. All squares are taken care of. c7 is pointless, right? But everything else is blocked by white pieces. So we just kind of see Java here trying to navigate his pieces to I guess f6, right? Knight coming to f6 will be quite troublesome for black, as I don't think capturing f6 would be something Prague would want to do. So knight d7, knight g4, king h8, I guess anticipating that knight f6, but it does look a little bit unpleasant, right? Knight f6 will definitely come through, and here Java here can keep bringing in the knights. he can reroute this knight somewhere, maybe to h5 even, to make knight f6 even stronger. Yeah, this feels very very unpleasant, honestly, for black. And just out of personal curiosity, I'm gonna go ahead and check the engine's evaluation here. The engine says that this is plus 0.3 for white, and oh boy, do I think that this is probably, practically speaking, this is way worse than plus 0.3. This is actually one of those positions that would feel borderline lost, honestly, because yes, you do have an extra pawn, but what does black do? Does black just sit and wait for white to do their thing on the king side? No. What's the plan? I don't know, right? It feels bad. It feels like your hands are tied, and I don't want to play this as black. This feels like a great success for the Uzbeki board 2 in terms of opening prep. Already up over 40 minutes on the clock, and not over, slightly under 40 minutes up on the clock, but still this being move 21 and this position having very high chance of becoming really dynamic if white goes for a proper sacrifice makes me believe that, okay, king h1, interesting choice. But once again, even the engine says that, oh, you know, it's time for black to let the extra pawn go. It's time to like start bringing the stuff over closer to the king side, because if they don't, oh boy, will it be you know, a mess at some point. Yeah, this makes me feel like Prague might get in trouble, you know, and he's been close, right? I would say that Prague has been somewhat close in certain games to kind of getting punished for his positional misunderstanding, especially in the previous game against Iranian team, where he got away in a worse holding a worse position in the middle game. But now Lukash asleep at the board. You were right, Dominguez didn't find it. I mean, I wasn't saying he can't find it. I was saying it's hard to find, but he can find it if he spends long enough understanding that that position is critical and that he has to spend more time. But it didn't seem like the position was critical, right? It didn't seem like there was a need for an immediate reaction, because the positional dynamic didn't change. Sindarov playing the Lichess title Blitz arenas lately. Now he has Andy Woodward to deal with. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. I don't think that's how it works, Eigen. Something is telling me the queen. We're not gonna see queen d8 being played. But if you don't see queen d8, then what are we gonna see? Huh. Interesting. Alright, so let's take a look at board 1, where people are claiming that Lukash is asleep. No, he's not. He's there. He's present. I'm kind of curious to see what happened after g3. So we just see a Fenkero. And white is just playing this in a like the most unsophisticated way possible. Like I would expect white to try something immediate, to try to fight for the d file, but here no, we see most of white pieces are just chilling away. You know, white did prevent some play from white by playing a4, right, not allowing b5. Bishop d8. Excuse me, what? This is weird. So, based off of my inferior opening knowledge, I know that the reason for why white usually tries to seize the control over the d5 is because if black gets to play d5 himself, it's going to be really bad news for white. So here, not seeing rook d8 makes me question my understanding of what's going on. Or maybe there is just some kind of knight g5 here that's gonna annoys this bishop, and black can't play d5 right now, right? Because white would just take, as white has a lot of defenders now. So maybe that was the point. But what if black begins with h6 and then still tries for rook d, because black also has an additional, potentially an additional defender for the d5, which also actually makes me think that maybe play knight before here would also make sense. So bishop d8 is something I've never seen before. Like, where is this bishop going? a5. This essentially gives up the d6. Nyzhnyk has been playing way faster than Gukesh, and Gukesh is falling dangerously low on time. Now he decides to go for bishop g5. May end up seeing something like knight e8. It looks ugly though, right? It looks very ugly. Why would we bring the piece back? But if h6, forcing white to trade, this might actually be good enough for winning the pawn. Although even here, I'm not quite convinced that winning a pawn is the way to go, because bishop pair, black having some counterplay against c2, potential b5s on the horizon. You know, a whole bunch of stuff going on here. I'm not. Yeah, this extra pawn doesn't look very convincing right now. Okay, so in terms of time management, the Indian team is not doing quite hard today. Gukesh is down a lot of time. Prague is down a lot of time as well. Arjun is the only one who is kind of even with his opponent, both having an hour on their clocks still. But yeah, this match is not going as smoothly as the matches we've seen so far for the Indian team. Let's take a look at board number 2. The report. Whoa, what? What happened? Okay, so this is where we left off, right? Queen c7 was only tried bare minimum of times. Like I see 3 games in Queen c7. That's the move Richard Report came up with, and the Fabi is just playing standard chess. Just develop, get the pieces out to good squares. Gets bishop to e3, gets a knight to c4, begins annoying the e5, forces knight d7. Very well done so far by white. Now, Report goes for h6. This clearly shows an intention of castling long. If I see h6, I'm thinking to myself, aha. So now, castling short is basically impossible. If you want to make the castling short work, you would need to play either h5, which contradicts itself, right, because black just played h6, or you would need to play g5, which once again contradicts itself because why weaken your king's position. So my opponent plays h6, I'm like, okay, it's going to be long castle, time to prepare, go. Oh, I wasn't looking at the notation, I'm sorry. I promise you, I'm not, why did I apologize? I don't know. But I promise you, this was my honest thinking process. So the move c3 should come automatically. But after bishop a6, yeah, it feels a bit annoying. Allowing the trade is not something I would like, because it basically makes it into a pawn symmetry. It's going to be a symmetrical pawn structure after black takes, just to demonstrate, boom, all pawns are the same. And because in this case black is the one holding the weakness, right, the double pawns on the c file, I would like to not allow this to go. Okay, but it still does. Okay, so it still does. This was played b3, but here Fabi took back with a b pawn. Not sure how I feel about this. Long castle did go through. King b7, rook b1, and then rook h e8. I'm not quite sure what's happening. Yeah, Fabi is down on time. His only realistic play is to play d4, which it's quite tricky. I can't really understand whether playing d4 is even any good for white at all. After this trade happens, I don't think we want to take on d4 with a bishop though, because after this trade, knight c5 comes through, and the knight is now placed on an outpost. That's good news for black. And if white takes with a knight, this feels a bit more natural. No, honestly, this should be very good for white, right? Because the b file is so exposed. The king is right there. White will try something like this. So yeah, this should be actually very good news for Fabi if it gets to pass. But something is telling me that maybe Richard will just not take with one of the pawns. Maybe take once, but then not take back the second time. Maybe he will just ignore this like for good. Maybe he's just gonna king a7, you know. And if takes, he's gonna trade like this. And wow, this looks extremely weird. Have you guys ever seen a pawn structure like this? I have never, never seen anything like this before. Trying to remove all the arrows here. This is actually one of the cases where I would prefer having a knight over the bishop, but how do I break through? Like everything is defended. All the key squares we would normally use to infiltrate, they're taken care of by the black pawns. Our pawns are doing exactly the same thing. So while it feels more pleasant, more natural for white, I don't think it's winnable. I don't think I can do anything here. Wow. d4 was not played. This is the current position right now where Fabi is thinking about his options, but I think, like, honestly, just there's nothing that can be done besides d4, right? Love your commentary, Ilya. Thank you very much. My pleasure. Let's go ahead and take a look at Lanier's game. Where as we were pointed out, Lanier did not find the queen before, which would give him arguably a winning advantage. But once again, knight g3 just looks so much more natural. We want a knight on g3 either way, right? Knight is going to be defending e4, potentially coming through to f5 or h5, helping us attack, right? We're trying to attack the black king as we have a bishop, a very good placed bishop on this diagonal, taking away the king's escape squares. So I feel like that's what Linear thought he needs to do. And looks like we see a bunch of trades going through. So white checkmating black is already out of the question. And here Sanan goes ahead and plays d5. I want to point out that it's kind of safe to assume that Linear will never really be in any danger in this game, because you know, he's holding a bishop pair, and what may end up happening is that most things will get traded away eventually. But it looks like we have some new development, as after queen f2, g6 was played almost instantaneously by Sanan, which is not a good move according to the engine. h4, queen f8. Sanan has been playing very confidently ever since he played rook a5. Honestly, I don't mind it. Yes, rook a5 was not ideal, but it feels like Sanan has been using his opponent's thinking time to his advantage, right? That's actually a very good strategy, which allows you to escape the time trouble, right? If you use your opponent's time to think while it's your opponent's move, if you are at the board thinking about the options, it takes a lot more energy, because once again, I already explained it during my past streams, that if you don't have a move physically present on the board, right? Because if it's your opponent's move, they can do anything, they can play any move basically. So you have to consider many more candidate moves in your analysis, which it just makes your analysis tree, you know, have a lot more branches this way. And when the move is already on the board, so that, you know, the amount of things you need to calculate is reduced by a lot, because the move is already there, so you don't have to consider all the possibilities. And so it takes out a lot more energy from you utilizing this strategy, but, you know, it helps you, definitely helps you save time when the move actually comes up on the board. Queen f8, supposedly white can just go ahead and take on f8, and after bishop takes f8, bishop d2, I guess trying to annoy the b4 a little bit. King g7, e takes, knight takes, and then something like maybe something like knight e4. This was the end of the line, but this feels okay once against an open position. Yes, white has double pawns. Yes, black has passer on e5, but this pawn is not ever gonna get anywhere, and the bishops should do a good job defending if needed. But white has a small edge here. Not sure. It doesn't seem like the advantage is gonna be big enough for Lanier to convert into a win, but we'll see. Maybe he'll find a way. Oh my God, Daisy! It's Daisy. Chat is saved. Still Seer in Gukash in Sugiuro's game. Gukash suspicious according to Nepo. What? Gukash is suspicious according to Nepo? What does it mean? He's cheating? What? Alright. This is where we left off. Trade on f6 did happen. Look at this. Gukash did not take on d6. As I pointed out, taking on d6 would lead to some problems in white's position. It may not be worth the trouble picking up the pawn if you have to suffer for the rest of the game. So goes for knight d5 and goes for c3. So this is a position that I'm more familiar with. You know, light piece on d5, white, you know, taking care of their other weaknesses. This is something I can relate to. It's still Siri, I'm being told, in Sugiurov's game. Oh, okay. Well, that's news, because on my end, at least using the Lichess master database, I don't see any games that have been played here. Maybe well, it's I think it's quite fair to assume that Lichess's masters database does not really contain all the games. It contains some, but definitely not all. So it's very possible that this is indeed still theory, as there might have been some games that have been played here that we are not able to see in the masters database. But what about if this was all theory? What about this rook a5 move, right? So here, what about the queen takes b4? You're telling me that people just make mistakes and play rook e5 sometimes? Or maybe there is something deeper to it. I mean, in all fairness, once again, the engine that we have access to, the engine that everybody watching these games on their computers have access to, is not a very strong engine, right? We're getting a very low depth analysis, and there is a chance that in Sicilian defense, players have actually analyzed with better, much stronger, much faster engines, and they actually know a lot more than what we see by using the Lichess, the engine that is provided by Lichess. Oftentimes, the difference is negligible, but sometimes, especially in crazy positions in some of the Sicilian defense lines, there might be some things that these engines, that the Lichess engines, are not able to see on a low depth. That's very possible once again. So you guys, I would recommend you guys not relying on these engines a bit too much, especially in Sicilian defense. Oh, rook e5 is a mistake, and then it's transposed to the main line. That is move 18, bishop h3. Oh, I see. Okay, so move 18. Move 18, bishop h3. Aha. Oh, maybe that's why. Makes sense now. Yes, it all adds up. Knight g3. But how does this transposition thing work? 28. But in this case, here is this. This is the one, yeah? d5. Right? What? It says max depth reached. Also, we are not given any more games after move 25. That's unlucky. Yeah, I'm being told that, oh, d5 max depth reached, so that's move 25. Okay. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, so this yeah, this is supposedly a main line. There was a million games played here, and yeah, as Alex, just like Alex said, this is a well-known territory where Black does quite well. The games mostly end in draws, and I'm pretty sure Lanier is going to be kicking himself once he yeah, you know, I'm talking as if this game is already over. No, it's not. It's still gonna go. Lanier is still gonna try to win. No questions asked, but I'm pretty sure that with proper defense, Black should be able to survive this for a draw. And if that's what happens, Lanier might be just kicking himself for not being able to find the queen b4, which is a great winning chance for him this moment, right? So queen takes b4, as we discussed. No, wait, no, sorry. Bishop takes e6, king h8, and now queen takes b4, d5, and now a very, very nice interception move, bishop b6, intercepting the defense that Black queen has for the a5 rook. Now, if knight takes, obviously the rook is dead. If queen takes, then there's a bunch of pieces hanging in Black's position. This would require a little bit more calculation, as Black does have some counterplay, but no, actually not really, right? Just knight c1, taking care of the a2, attacking the queen, attacking the knight on d7. Once the knight falls, the rook is going to be attacked as well. This feels a bit lost for Black. And yeah, the best move here for Black would be to just go for this kind of endgame, where White will find himself with 2 extra pawns, though they're going to be doubled, but definitely would have been a nice chance to win for Lanier here. Definitely it would have been way more advantage than he will ever see from this point on. Do you think that Abdusattorov considers this the biggest game of his career since he leads the defending champion team? The biggest game of his career? I don't think so. I don't think so because, yeah, the team-based events in chess are definitely important, but I feel like the biggest games of your career will come from individual tournaments, not from team-based events. Since chess is mostly an individual game, I feel like the chess game of his career is yet to come. What do you mean, is the database back yet? Database back yet? Well, I think the database has never really left. Okay. All right, let's scroll down and take a look at some of the greatly anticipated games. And would you look at this? So this is where we left off. And as suspected, the game did transfer eventually into the Benoni structures, where all of a sudden the move a6, the move I was telling you guys for so long about how useless it's gonna be, all of a sudden, not at all. Because if not for a6, now White would have an ability to play b5. But would you look at this? a6 is now an extremely useful move for Black, as it doesn't give White a chance to play b5 quick enough, likely giving Black just enough time to get e4 prepared. I would be looking into something like a4, but once again, e4 is already available to Black. Not sure. Feels like Black might be faster with their play. Although, wait, take here. Wait, if that's how it ends, no. How about taking with a bishop here? So the difference is that there are some tricks now. But what if White just ignores? What if White just says, "Oh well, I don't care. I go b5, and then I look." takes, and then the d4 is gonna fall. Yeah, that doesn't look all that great for black. Without any in-depth analysis, I already don't like this. It just feels like, you know, yeah, black got to play e4, but d4 is it's not a survival. d4 is a gunner. So if anything, a4 probably should be Ding's strong consideration, though he always needs to kind of make a judgment call about how good these kinds of positions are, especially now since d3 has been hit. If knight leaves, right, if knight is gone from e5, then d3 is going to fall. So maybe this is not great now as I'm thinking about it, because black has a couple of different ways to get rid of the knight on e5. It just takes, maybe even just take, but that's not, there's no need to do this, right? There is no need for this kind of sacrifice, as it you know, a lot of trades happen, and plus in the end of the day the knight gets trapped on b2. So yeah, this is just a bad idea. Maybe something simple, like keep it simple, right? Illia, keep it simple. That's fairly good advice for most people, you know. Keep it simple, attack the e5, attack the d4, have all your pieces attacking. Yes, you're down a pawn for the time being, but you know, it's you're winning it back. It's okay, you know, it's gonna be okay. You win c5, you win d3, it's going, right? It's going well. So some action, some possibility for action. Obviously that is given that Ding does decide to go for a4, and if it doesn't like it, he may just opt out and play something more safe, something like queen b3, making sure the pawn is well guarded. Take a look at Wei Yi versus Tabatabai. Okay, so some interesting structure I've never seen before. Sicilian. Oh my, bishop c4. So I had a blitz game, a random blitz game. It wasn't a bet against you, Daisy. I'm not sure if Daisy is still in the chat on Twitch, but I was playing viewers on my St. Lucia's Club's stream, and one of my viewers played this line against me, and I was looking at it and I was like, okay, why do this, right? Why develop the bishop? Like there's some knight takes e4 available. And then his bishop went back to d3, and I was like, okay, this makes no sense, right? Like why why would you ever handicap yourself by wasting a tempo? Zero sense. And now this is what I see. Was I playing a G? I won the game, by the way, but back then I was just like criticizing his choices, saying that, oh, but you know, like you're moving the same piece multiple times. There's actually no idea behind moving the bishop back and forth between c4 and d3. I want to play e6 anyway, right? So that's a useful move for black. The kind of move black makes regardless of what white does typically. And now all of a sudden I see Tabatabai blitzing this out to that player from yesterday. My apologies. You know, wait, shout out was given to me. Well, thanks for the shout out. I appreciate it. Sure is one big or bag game. I guess it's big. Oh, it probably was related in relation to the Megalodon's comment about Abdusatorov's game of his career. Yeah. But yeah, sometimes people, you know, whenever you play somebody online, people have like fantastic ideas, and I don't know where Tabatabai got this from. I wouldn't be surprised if he got this from like some online games. I'm not kidding, because like, how do you come up with something like this? Like, what's the idea? What's the point? Like, it's so tricky. Like now, look, Wei is he's just completely out of it. Like he plays e6 and then bishop d3. Why play bishop c4? If you want to play bishop d3, you can do it here, and then all of a sudden it goes bishop d3, and like what's going on here? And Tabatabai is still in a prep, right? Now Tabatabai is going for the Marozzi bind all of a sudden. Wow, what is happening? Oh, okay, so this is how it went. Though there was a game between Jan Nepomniachtchi and Maximo Shiragrov where Jan took on d5 with an e-pawn, but Tabatabai decided to go for e5. And this is how we got into the pawn structure at question. I don't like it for black. I feel like it's a bit dubious. having these guys, but knight on d5 is currently holding everything together. Fortunately, that goes well for black. And yet, yeah, I think in the long run, probably would take white here. Why didn't black take on e4? Oh, at what point? You mean, oh, you mean here? Well, supposedly there's some queen h5, and now black needs to know the move e6, because of g6, you lose. Boom. So after queen h5, black already needs to play e6, and then Magnus tried this against Jan Nepomniachtchi. Actually, I'm pretty sure this must have been some kind of rapid or blitz game. But then, yeah, Magnus took here. And after this capture came through, queen e7. Oh yeah, I remember. I'm pretty sure this is the bad game where Magnus was just completely lost, right? Yeah, he's just down a piece here. I think I've seen this before, but yeah, this is not a sound line as far as I know. Maybe Tabatabai has had something else prepared, because it's very hard to imagine he would go for this without any backup plan. But if we begin to look for whatever he prepared, I feel like we might end up spending enormous amount of time as you know, it's a preparation of a 2700 player. They would need at least a much better engine to navigate ourselves through it. So any new moves there? Bishop d7 looks, yeah, seems to be the final move of the game so far. Tabatabai is thinking Wei is suddenly pulled ahead in terms of time management. That's new. After being surprised in the opening and being down approximately 20 minutes in the clock, Wei pulls ahead, and Tabatabai maybe kind of wondering that he didn't get as much of an advantage as he had hoped. And that's perfectly fine, but I feel like his position is at least very solid, so he should be, he shouldn't be in any danger unless he overpresses. Okay, let's take a look at Magnus's game. Everyone likes Magnus. We left off at this moment, where Magnus took on d4 with a knight, so not wanting to go for the endgame after queen takes d4, queen takes d5. Not wanting to trade queens, Magnus takes with a knight, goes e4. So far, makes everything is making perfect sense. Knight f6, knight. Okay, bishop b5 check is an unusual choice, right? Because knight c3 would be very simple, very straightforward. Develop the knight, defend the pawn, but bishop b5 forces a trade, right? And bishop d7. Now, if black wants to, they can go ahead and take on b5. Not what black is going for. Allows the trade on d7, and then still trades queens, still goes into the endgame. And here looks like white definitely is maintaining some levels of pressure, right? Because black currently cannot develop the bishop. The knight can potentially come to d5. So actually, I like this position for white. This looks very pleasant. What do you guys think? I feel like naturally white's going to have a better bishop on it, better dark squared bishop than black's, because white does not have most of their pawns placed on dark squares. If white wants to ever make their bishop active, they just go f3, bishop f2, and the bishop is out. But if black wants to make his bishop active, it's not as simple, because once again, most of these guys are currently on dark squares. Like this for Magnus, I think there's a chance that we're gonna end up seeing Magnus winning this endgame, but anything can happen. Fedosseev is a very strong player, so he might be able to still survive, but I feel like right now he is at a disadvantage somewhat. Going all the way down, trying to check Lem's game. This is where we left off, and I said it's going to be an extremely difficult job for either side to win this, as with pawn symmetry. White has tried ever since white has tried to seize the central control. Didn't really work out, and looks like it looks pretty normal to me. The bishop seems quite safe on c6. Yeah, it feels kind of stuck in there, but there is no way for white to annoy it any further. Maybe with something like knight d2, knight b3, knight a5. That's potentially a plan. Once the bishop is gone, white might get a chance to plant the rook on c7, but once again, it's always going to be a little bit dangerous because if the rook goes to c7 and then let's say black bishop moves right back to c6, the rook is stuck, right? So even if the bishop, even if white manages to force the bishop away, not exactly clear what kind of plan white has in mind afterwards. This is safe. This is safe. This is solid for both sides. Clearly, Nikita Vitigov is trying to pressure Lim, but nothing too crazy, you know. No special advantages for white here. Position should probably end in a draw, but once again, I've said that about many games, and what did we get? Anything but draws. So maybe that's what I should do. Maybe I should just go game after game after game, and I should just say, oh, this game is gonna be a draw. This game is gonna be a draw. So I'm just gonna jinx everyone. So we see less draws and more exciting stuff. Lagging fixed now, I guess. Oh shoot. Wait, did the stream drop? I have dropped frames. But the stream is alive. I want to point out that the stream didn't go offline. Isn't that wonderful? Okay, Illia, stop talking. Yeah. And during my previous streams, over the past couple of days, my OBS would do a weird thing. So the streaming software I'm using, it would go offline. So obviously the stream would end. And my intranet would also go offline. So this time my intranet didn't quite go offline. I got a spike. Yeah, but the stream didn't go offline. If that's not a massive one, I don't know what is. Like, it shouldn't happen. Like, I'm not supposed to be getting all these frame drops. I do see 0.2% of frames dropped over the past couple of minutes. But at least, you know, at least it's back now without dropping the stream itself. So maybe something I did help, although I would say I didn't do much, but might have helped. At least might have helped keep the stream alive during the FPS drops. White is definitely going to win. Well, what's that name? What's the language? Is that Korean or Chinese? I wonder. Probably Chinese. Yeah, I mean, I can recognize some kanji. Well, no, I mean, I don't really know what any of that means. I can just recognize that it's kanji. The second one should be, at least it looks like ka, but I'm probably wrong. I'm not sure what game you're referring to, the game where you're saying, yeah, white is definitely going to win. Whether it's this Lim's game or Magnus's game, probably Magnus's game, right? Yeah, but when we're talking about Magnus, it's safe to assume he's gonna win as he does most of the time. But he did have a couple of draws. I don't think he lost the game yet. Taking a look at board number 25, Alexei Shirov versus Mustafa Yilmaz, so Spain versus Turkey. Okay, so we've seen this about 5 times so far, I would say. This position happened in many games during the Olympiad, and here, Queen d3 is interesting. Oh no, Queen d3 is right, because I had a game where I played Queen d2 here, and the queen does not belong on d2. I didn't know that the queen is actually not supposed to be on d2. Like, usually it goes to d2, but not here, because there is always some kind of weird tactic involving an e4. So I played the queen d2 and was wrong and got in semi trouble as white. Yeah, but queen d3 kind of solves that. And yeah, usually black has pretty decent results here. Wait, so in most games, black played g5 here. I guess we're gonna probably see some kind of transposition eventually. No, we're not. I would say Sheriff is playing this very, very aggressively. Expanding on the king side by pushing the g-pawn all the way down and kind of claiming that, oh, well, it's not a big deal, the king is safe. But I don't know, there might be some repercussions at a later stage of the game, you never know. All right, let's take a look at some, maybe Brazil against, sorry, this is Brazil against Netherlands. I know we've talked about this game, but then we quickly switched away from it, so didn't really get a chance to see how Anish is doing. King's Indian, white plays a Finchetto variation. Bishop e3, novelty. Oh, kind of. There's only a handful of games tried in Bishop e3. Very interesting. You don't usually see Bishop going to e3 at all. And what's the big idea? So Rook gets to c1. And White just kind of tries to finish developing this way, huh? Actually, now the bishop makes a lot more sense on e3. Because first of all, it doesn't allow the black pawn to go all the way down. It also helps White with some potential ideas involving the bishop or the knight getting to c5. So now it actually all adds up. Liking Anish's decision so far. Very cool. And anticipating. So bishop e3 it feels like the kind of move that anticipates black playing e5. Which is not necessarily the case, because black can also play against the e4 square here. But in most cases, black does end up playing e5 at one point or the other, and it looks like Anish's opponent kind of walks right into it. With most people trying knight e4 and actually having quite decent results. Nicolas Theodore tried this line, and actually earlier, basically a month ago, with white, and ended up losing after his opponent played knight e4. So I guess in this case, and it kind of worked out nicely for Anish, where his opponent was too focused on trying to play e5, which is one of the main plans. But in this case, as we can see, white manages to get a very nice position, where Anish is definitely going to be in a commanding seat here. Okay, how's Anish's rest of the team is doing? Very worried about Jordan Van Forest, as he's been showing a propensity to make serious game-changing blunders over the past couple of games. So hopefully that doesn't happen to him again. We see him trying real hard against Alexander Fier to go for the kill, right? So Jordan has, oops, wrong arrow. Jordan has created a very, very malicious-looking battery, against the h2 square. I feel like if Alexander Fier is not careful, there's going to be some knight h4s thrown in a moment. So definitely white needs to be watching out, as this does look pretty scary from afar. All right, we need some mod help in the YouTube chat. I'm pretty sure that's that shouldn't be allowed. Whatever this gentleman is posting is highly inappropriate. I think we need to probably remove him from the chat premises ASAP. Okay, other boards. Board number 3. Max Warmerdam playing e4, facing Illia Nyzhnyk, where yet another sideline he's been introduced to us, with white going to d3 with the queen. Very unusual, especially because the queen is getting immediately hit and is forwarded right back to d2. And I jinxed it. I jinxed it. I'm sorry. Oh boy. Here we go. I tried fixing it. I really did. But I don't know why this keeps happening. It probably has something to do with my internet connection, honestly. I am using Ethernet connection, but I was told that sometimes it doesn't matter. It still happens from time to time. But yeah, surely it's probably the internet connection, guys. Because what ends up happening is that I see the Lichess having the reconnecting at the bottom left. That's when I know that it's happening. It is my internet, but whoa. Am I back? Okay, this was back again. Oh well, yeah. I'm back, huh? I mean, getting kind of sad in here. Like what is there I can do? I have a very high speed internet. Like it shouldn't be doing this. If only I could somehow monitor this. But I don't know why. I don't know how. The first one seems to hit. No, I think it didn't happen until like hour 3 yesterday. Overheating. Well, my laptop is currently sitting on a pretty powerful cooling pad, so I would not expect it to be. I can go ahead and check. One sec, I'll be right back. I'm pretty sure it should be fine. By round 12, yeah, by round 12 exactly. No, it's not. No, the CPU usage is like at 5%. It's 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 as cool as an ice cube. Well, no, not that cool, but it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, it's just it's I wish I had a bit more time, but I just been so busy over the last couple of days that I literally just can't can't fix it because yeah, don't have time to actually sit down and try to figure it out. I've read, I had about an hour prior to the stream, and I went online and started seeing what people are saying about this, and a lot of people actually had this or similar looking issues before. So something is telling me is that the fix that I thought I found, and there was some person who had this happen because of some weird issues with his Elgato microphone, and I am currently using Elgato microphone, and he said that he disconnected the microphone from his machine and it stopped, but this is not it's 100% the internet. Like there's no question about it. It's my internet, just the upload speed just plummeting all the way down. I'll have speed test handy, so for when this happens again, I will be ready to run the speed test, and I'm pretty sure. Oh, what? What is happening? This is so weird. Oh, no, my speeds are fine. Okay, anyway, let's go back to the important things, and that is the games. Actually quite curious to see how Nicolas Theodore is doing, so let's take a look at his game. He's playing his team, and he's representing Greece. Is playing Azerbaijan right now. Greece is underdog rating-wise, but it looks like they've been doing quite well in this Olympiad, and they're currently playing on board 45, which is match number 11, I believe. No, 12. And yeah, we are seeing pretty standard Ruy Lopez stuff, where black goes for early g5, and I guess black is going to be trying to go for the kill here, with black advancing the pawns quite aggressively on the king side, also meaning that white needs to respond, otherwise it's all gonna end really badly for them. So d4 happened, and Theodore played f4, yeah, trying to go for some kind of counterattack. Yeah, suddenly black just went ahead and castled short. You don't you don't expect to see this when you see a position as exposed as this one. I would be expecting black to try and castle long, but I guess in this case it's not what we are looking at. Quite dangerous, I would say, for black. That can come to f5, followed by queen h6. Feels very unpleasant. So yeah, not quite sure what's going on, but probably that's a good thing, because both teams are clearly trying to win, clearly trying to go for the fights. You know, not trying to go for quick draws, unlike some teams on the top boards. But you know, even when you're trying for a fight, quick draws can still happen, because yeah, in chess, unfortunately, it's a game where there's a lot of ways to make a draw, unfortunately, and it's like a field of a minefield, right? Especially when you're we've never had 3 in a row, have we? So the only thing I can do right now is, I guess, restart my router. Yeah, this is horrible. This is absolutely horrible. You don't think it's the internet? I think it's the internet. So my download speed was just at 180. Now it's at 512 megabits per second. My upload is on a good second at about 40 megabits per second. Yeah, no, this is nuts.